1979. A man left Spain behind. He had luggage, he had heartbreak, and a dream of building a new life in the warmest city in the world. But no one that day could have predicted why exactly Miami, or how that decision would change the history of music. Now I'm going to tell you the untold Miami story of Julio Iglesias. The story of how a man turned exile into paradise, and how a city became the gateway that opened him to the world. But at the beginning of that journey, few people know what was really inside those suitcases. The late 1970s. Spain was undergoing a profound transformation following Franco's death. The transition to democracy, cultural upheaval, the search for identity. In the middle of that chaos, Julio Iglesias was the brightest name in the music world, but in his private life, he was shattered. His marriage to Isabel Preisler officially ended in 1979. 3 children, the merciless gaze of public opinion, a separation that had become a national affair. Madrid felt too small now. A memory on every corner, a wound on every newspaper page. And then came Miami, pelicans gliding low over Biscayne Bay, the ocean breeze filtering through palm trees, a city where Spanish was spoken freely in the streets. For Julio, this wasn't just a new address. It would become the address of his rebirth. But why exactly Miami? And would this city truly save him? 1980. Star Island, one of Miami's most exclusive enclaves. Julio Iglesias put down roots here, a white villa overlooking Biscayne Bay, wind coming off the open sea, Miami's glow shimmering in the dark of night. Picture the Miami of those years. Scarface hadn't been filmed yet, but that atmosphere already existed. A city flooded with cocaine money, a wave of Latin American immigration, streets where English and Spanish breathed side by side. Miami, in 1980, was both paradise and inferno. And Julio fell into this city, both literally and figuratively. Because Miami didn't just give him sun and sea, Miami gave him the largest Latin community in the world. Millions of Cubans, Colombians, Venezuelans, Mexicans. They all knew him, they all loved him, and they all listened to him. This was precisely the place that would become the center of Julio Iglesias' global strategy. Miami became not just a home, but a base of operations. Julio Iglesias lived through the most prolific period of his musical career here. Studios, arrangers, producers, the infrastructure that would open the doors of the American music industry was built here. The deal with CBS Records was signed in Miami. The duet with Willie Nelson, To All the Girls I've Loved Before, took root in Miami's warmth. And when that song reached the top of Billboard in 1984, the world no longer saw Julio Iglesias as merely a Latin star, but as a global phenomenon. What Miami gave him went beyond musical infrastructure. The geographic position was critical. Close to New York, close to Latin America, close to European flights. Julio could fly in any direction, follow every market, return to any country. But behind this calculated strategy lay something far deeper, and few people noticed. Julio Iglesias didn't flee to Miami. He wasn't exiled. No official pressure tore him from Spain, but there was an inner exile, created by that separation, deepened by that heartbreak, fueled by the relentless pressure of public life. According to those close to him, Julio felt in Madrid like an object on display. Every move watched, every relationship photographed, every word twisted. Miami, by contrast, gave him something. Invisibility. At least for a while. The high walls behind the Star Island villa, the private dock opening to the sea. That world accessible only to trusted names. Here, Julio could work and breathe at the same time. And it was precisely in this period, inside that invisibility, that he wrote the most personal pages of his music. But Miami's greatest gift had not yet appeared. The Miami of the 1980s was producing its own sound. Miami Sound Machine, Gloria Estefan, Latin pop fusing with electronic rhythms. The city was a musical laboratory. Julio Iglesias redefined his own voice within that transformation. More international arrangements, broader productions, smoother transitions between languages. Spanish, English, French, Italian. In Miami studios, 4 languages could breathe simultaneously within a single album. The Guinness Book of Records opened its pages to Julio in this era, the artist who has recorded albums in the most languages in history. Behind that record was not only a vocal talent, but the global perspective that Miami had granted him. The city didn't just nourish him, it transformed him. The Miami of the 1980s was not only palm trees and swimming pools, drug wars, Colombian cartels, violence. Beneath the city's bright face lay a very different reality. Julio lived inside that world, but kept himself meticulously apart from it. Star Island was more than an island in the figurative sense. It was physically separated from the city's chaos, a protected world. And in this period, security concerns carried a much deeper meaning. The kidnapping of his father by ETA in 1981 had shaken Julio to his core. The high walls in Miami, the private bodyguards, the restricted access. These were not merely the whims of a star. They were the protective instinct of a man guarding his family and himself. But behind all those walls, Julio Iglesias took the stage every night and smiled at the world. How many people knew the price behind that smile? Decades passed, Miami changed. Taller, brighter, more crowded. But that villa on Star Island is still there. And Julio Iglesias is still there. In his 80s, with children scattered to every corner of the world, carrying a musical legacy spanning decades, Julio Iglesias' story with Miami is not over. This city was not a stopover for him. It was a harbor. What did Miami give him? It turned exile into paradise. It forged a global identity from heartbreak. It transformed the pain of a separation into millions of album sales. And behind the high walls, it gave him the space to write the world's most intimate songs. Sometimes a city saves a person, and sometimes a person gives meaning to a city. For Miami and Julio Iglesias, both were true.